Hartford, the governor says, look, we want all electric vehicles by 2035 and all the classes of trucks by 2042. And from what I'm reading in your statement that you released recently, you're kind of saying, whoa, hold on. Here's why we need to slow down.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why we need to slow down. Number one, you guys pay electric bills in Connecticut. We don't have the cheapest electric going, and it uses a lot of power to charge these electric vehicles. So number one, are you saving any money? And number two, where's the power coming from in Connecticut? Mm-hmm. You can't overlook the fact that it's coming from fossil fuels. A good percentage of it's coming from fossil fuels. A very tiny percent is coming from renewables. And we do still have nuclear online, which is good and probably the way of the future. But until we have a way to generate all of our power in an inexpensive way, perhaps modular nuclear, that doesn't have emissions, then we may be on the right track to cheaper and actually net zero emissions. But as it stands now, I see, and I've used the phrase before, we're kind of trading tailpipe for smokestack at this point.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I feel like people have oversimplified this debate. If you say you're, not yet on the electric vehicles, you're saying you hate the environment, and that's just not the case.
Not the case.
You're right. And there was actually even an op-ed, I think I sent it to you, Lou, basically poking fun at anyone who disagrees with this premise that we need to go to all electric vehicles, and while overlooking the problems at the beginning and the end of the supply chain, and also the problems with charging the vehicles. We certainly don't have the electrical infrastructure, and we sure don't have the ability to charge all electric vehicles. Can you imagine the rest area on 95 while there's people lined up to wait to charge 50 minutes of your battery to get 80% of your battery charged? That's going to back up pretty quickly. I think there's a lot of unintended consequences that can happen with forcing this. And I had a meeting with DEEP on Friday with a lot of the officials at DEEP. As you guys know, I'm ranking member on the Environment Committee with Senator Harding. And I brought some of these problems up. I said, and they said, well, electric vehicles are good. People love them. Okay, then why do you need to get involved?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, Dave.
Let the free market do it.
Dave came at this from a great perspective off the air. He just started asking really practical questions. Like, he asked me if I know anybody that has one. I said, 2 people. I said, I can't afford it. I don't know where I would charge it for my daily commute.
Yeah, I have a 60-mile round-trip commute from Torrington to Brookfield every day. And, all of my friends, none of them own Teslas or can afford a Tesla at this point. Hybrids, a couple of people have had Priuses over the year, but at this point, the problem is you have to adjust the normal course of your life. For us, it's a 5-minute trip to the gas station and you're in and out. But to charge an electric vehicle, you need to devote at least 2-3 hours sometimes to get a full charge. I just can't afford that time of my life.
Is that the length of time? Because I am not doing that. I'm going to be honest with you.
Exactly.
For anybody, I'm not sitting there at a gas station or a charging station for 2-3 hours.
You can't.
And well, these points are excellent points. And in meeting with Deep, I was told, well, you just need to schedule your day around charging.
No. We're not.
Right.
So there's a glimpse into change your lifestyle to the way we say you need to change it to, or else is kind of what this is. Now, we're just thinking about passenger cars, guys. What about they want to force this on medium and heavy-duty trucks? Now, a diesel truck can have a range of up to 1,400 miles on a full tank, and it takes them 5-10 minutes to gas up. Mm-hmm. Now, if you go to an electric heavy-duty truck to bring goods and services into Connecticut, that battery pack weighs 10,000 pounds. So now you cannot carry as many goods into Connecticut, and your range is maybe 400 miles, and the price is 3 times the price tag of a traditional diesel truck.
And plus, like
guess
you
who's
said,
going to pay for the difference?
Yeah. And what you were saying before, sir, about the highway rest stops. Imagine 300 tractor trailers units at once trying to get to the chargers along 95 and Darien.
Yes. Excuse me. And they take a lot longer to charge, and they need a much more powerful charging station than a regular car. Mm-hmm. So I think these are all admirable goals, but let's let it come by evolution and not revolution, because it can happen. But as it stands now, I was asked a lot of questions of DEP. What about the mining for the elements for the battery? Are we going to ignore that? are we destroying someone else's environment to feel good about ours? And then at the end game, what are we going to do with all the spent batteries that were damaged in car accidents or just have lived their lives? So it may feel good to plug it in, but people are looking at that tiny little middle segment of the supply chain, and they're forgetting it takes 6 to 8 years to recoup the greenhouse gases it takes to even make the car, not much less mine the elements for the batteries and so on. And renewables, great. We're going to do it with renewables. The technology is coming. We keep saying, just bear with us. I'll send you guys the article after. There are graveyards for these wind turbine blades out in Texas and Idaho now that are stacked 10 feet high, and they go on for football fields because they took greenhouse gases to make that we were told they'd be recyclable, and guess what? They're not.
So even if we went into this sort of blindly and just followed along, 10 years, that's great. Is that even a realistic timeline?
I don't think so. This still has to go through regulations review, guys. But DEP just had public hearings that I, of course, participated in, and I listened to the testimony from both sides and submitted written testimony last week. There's actually one more day up till the end of business tomorrow. You can submit testimony for the heavy and medium-duty trucks if you go on DEP's website. But I submitted testimony, and a lot of people testified. I think this gave them a lot to think about. I know they still want to forge forward with this, but realistically, if they're so great and people love them so much, let's let people have a choice to buy what they want and not force them into a certain lifestyle like you guys just said, and force us into planning our lives around charging.
I also found out that it costs between $1,000 and $2,500 to have someone install a charging station in your garage.
Right. So
you can just plug it in at the end of the day.
Which would be great, but again, that's more That's more money that this guy doesn't have.
Or dirt.
You know what you had in your statement? I didn't know, and maybe I probably should have. You wrote Connecticut already has the highest electric rates in the continental United States. I guess we probably we put a guess that.
It goes between we're in the top three. It goes between 1, 2, and 3. And you guys have probably traveled out or seen the wind farm off of Block Island. I remember when they were assembling that, they told the people of Block Island offshore wind that we're going to greatly reduce the price of your electricity because they certainly have very expensive electricity there. Well, it turns out they didn't.
And because that you've come out and said, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but it sounds like you're saying, great, the spirit of this is great, but just slow down. This is not realistic for a variety of reasons. It's going to be costly. We appreciate you educating us on the matter and taking a few minutes to talk about it on the show this morning.
Well, thanks, guys. And again, great. It's an admirable goal, but let's let the free market handle it.
Thank you very much, sir. You really,
Good talking as always.
Thank you, Pat.
You too.